So today I am sitting with the one and only Gil from CraftedStays. Gil, thanks so much for being here and for allowing me to interview you.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy.
So let's just start off and have you share a little bit with our viewers about who you are and what inspired you to create CraftedStays.
Yeah, so I think first off, my wife and I were both hosts ourselves. We have a couple cabins in the Smokies and in Branson. We started in the beginning of the pandemic. My W-2 job at the time was in tech. So I've been a product director for the last 15 years, creating software products in Silicon Valley. Been at 6 different startups. I've always wanted to do something on my own. And about a year after we started hosting, we wanted to get into direct bookings. And all the agencies were building off their websites off of WordPress. And I was like, okay, if the best of the breed is building it off WordPress, I should be doing it too. And it took us 4 weeks to create our own site. I couldn't afford $6,000 for us to hire an agency to do it. So I decided, okay, I'm in tech. I can probably figure it out. Ended up building a really good looking site, but it took me way, way, way longer than I wanted to. And then afterwards, we started sharing that with our mastermind groups. And folks were asking me to create their sites. And I was like, no way in hell am I ever doing that again. Ironically, my day job was in e-commerce. And I was working with Shopify on a lot of their backend stuff. And I realized that in the e-commerce industry, if you wanted to sell a physical product, you can start a Shopify store in the morning and build a really good looking site, take payments, do all that, and you can have it launched in the same day. And I looked at our industry, and you either had the PMS website creators, which are oftentimes very limited. And if you wanted anything more, you would have to end up paying thousands and thousands of dollars to create a site with an agency. And I was like, there's got to be something better. So I started on the side coding my first version of the product. I coded it myself and then started shopping around, and people really resonated with the idea. And I was like, okay, let's try this. So I left my W-2, went in full, and then hired a bunch of engineers that I've worked with in the past to help us create our product. And it's evolved a ton. The first version that I created is nothing like what it is today. I'm glad about that. But we did a lot of learnings along the way. And since then, we've integrated with 5 PMSs. So Hospitable, OwnerRes, HostAway, Hostfully, and Guesty for Pros. So we're all integrated into them, and we basically can spin up a site in 15 minutes. And it's a really good looking site, performs extremely well. We're not basing it off of WordPress or anything like that. So there's no restrictions on what we want to do. And if you know anything about like how e-commerce is, it's not like a static site, like a WordPress site that you typically want to build a commerce site on. So this allows us to do unique things like eventually being able to do like cart abandonment stuff and be able to have better tracking. So we're very, very excited about where we have gone, or how we've gone today, and then also what's ahead of us.
Yeah. So you mentioned cart abandonment. For anyone who sells digital products or anything like that, I mean, I'm very familiar with the term. For someone who is watching this and going, I don't know what on earth they're talking about cart abandonment. Can you help us clarify that for our viewers?
Yeah. If you've ever shopped on e-commerce, which is a lot of our listeners today, and you added something to your cart and you somehow left your email with them and then you ended up not checking out, you abandoned that cart, basically. They call that a cart abandonment in e-commerce. And what they'll typically do is they'll remind you, hey, you left something in your cart, or maybe you left something in your cart and here's 5% off, and that's available for the next 24 hours. And that allows you to basically hook that person back in to finish up their cart and check out. Cart abandonment is huge in the e-commerce industry, and it's now to a part where for Shopify, it's standard as part of their package. If you build a site off of Shopify, they'll automatically have cart abandonment. They'll even have email templates and all that stuff. And those are some of the things that I want to bring back into the hospitality space, because I've noticed, at least in my own site, I have a lot of folks that will start the booking process and they won't finish. And it's my job to manually reach back out to them. And sometimes I don't even have proper tracking. I might not have their emails. So I'm looking to create more tools to help drive up conversion and to make it so that you don't have to be a really big hotel operator with hundreds of doors to be able to have the best technology to really help serve your guests the best way and help convert those guests into bookers.
I love that. And in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to walk us through the CraftedStays platform and kind of show us around. But I think that that's such an important topic to be talking about, because you're right. A traditional WordPress site isn't going to offer those same types of tools where you can know, hey, this person started to book a trip, and then guess what? They never ended up booking. So you need to reach back out to them. It's not within the DNA of a regular WordPress site, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, WordPress if you think back when WordPress was created decades ago, it was originally created for blogs. That's why it's called WordPress.
Mhm.
And it was there to help folks really be able to create a blog and be able to publish that online. And since then, it has evolved into a tool where a lot of folks, especially abroad, will create websites off of WordPress because there's such a big community around it. But it was never anticipated to be a commerce site. It was made to basically have static content that is you can retrieve. So it's evolved quite a bit, and I think WordPress has evolved as well too, to put in like WooCommerce, for instance, on the e-commerce side.
Mhm.
But it wasn't really built for e-commerce.
Interesting. Interesting. I want to just ask you a little bit about, the key features of CraftedStays. And again, maybe this is a good time where we kind of bring up your screen and you can walk us through those main features. Is that cool?
Yeah, certainly.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay.
Awesome.
So
So
tell
here
us
we have.
what we're looking at.
Yeah, so this is the dashboard. Whenever you basically land or you set up an account, you'll land to our dashboard. And a lot of the folks that we service are not tech savvy. They're not really folks that have, they're in a tech degree or tech background. So we try to make the platform as easy as possible while also making it as powerful as we possibly can to help convert users. So when you land on our site, we basically make it very easy where you have a checklist of things to do. And hopefully when you make it down to the very end, you'll basically have a site that you can launch. So I'll show you first off, one of the sites that we have. You can view the same site if you go to basically CraftedStays.co. There's a bunch of demo sites you can see on there. But this site is one of our demo sites here. You'll notice here we have the top navigations, destinations, feature stays for hosts, things to do. We try not to use widgets whatsoever. So one of the features that we do is we try to make it very integrated back into the PMS. So a lot of folks will basically embed the PMS widgets in here. And as much as we can, we try to avoid that. So this allows us to do availability search on the homepage and really style it the way that we want to style it, use the same fonts, the same interactions, and so on. This also allows us to do unique things so one of the big things that we do is we optimize each one of the sites to be mobile friendly as well too. So when we're using the widgets, it doesn't allow us to change the way things look, the way things behave. And so when we're basically integrating with the PMSs deeply, we're able to fetch for things, fetch for properties, fetch for availabilities, and show it the way that we want to show it, both on desktop and on mobile. In this particular site, we have all the favorite properties that the host may want to list. So it's very easy, and I can show you how to do that. This particular host is in multiple markets, so we can show different markets here. We can also do new sections in here. So for instance, if you have a co-hosting service, you can add that into it. So it's not this static site creator that has a really good looking interface, but then allows you to add new components to it, add new pages to it as well too. And then this section here is really describe why someone might want to book directly with you. And then the reviews as well too. And if you click into this reviews, it actually goes into the property pages there. So everything, we try to make it very, very tightly integrated back into your PMS here. So for instance, if I click on the market page here, it'll bring me to a map view of that particular market. And it loads extremely fast. So we try to make it so that when we load the map, it renders really, really quickly. You can scan through the different images on there. In some PMSs, we'll actually even pull the available rate. So if you put in arrival and departure dates, we try to pull in what that exact stay is going to look like so that someone can compare. So we think about a lot of these like small micro moments that people go throughout their booking journey, and try to work with the PMSs to really make sure that we have the right data and build the right experience back in there. If I were to click on any of the properties here, it brings me to the property page. And I can see all the pictures. I can bring up a full-size image of it. And one of the things that we do with the PMS is that when we download the images from them, we actually resize it 4 times over. So one of the things that we learn is that when we first started launching these sites, we were bringing these really high-quality images and then loading them on mobile. And then we've started to look and identify that like people were dropping off. The sites were taking too long to load because we're loading these really big images in there. So what we've done is we've now made a way so that when we load these sites, load these photos, we're actually downloading the photo and then resizing it 4 times over. So 2 desktop versions, 1 tablet version, and 1 mobile version. So it looks really good on desktop, but it also performs really well on mobile. So there's like these, again, small little things that we think about a lot to really drive up conversion there. And then all this information is being pulled directly from the PMS here. So if you make a change in the PMS, it makes a change on your website as well too. And then we're also in the process of getting rid of the PMS booking widgets altogether. So we're tightly integrating into them, and we're slowly, one by one, removing that so that you have a very consistent experience. And then all the fonts look the same. You have traceability all the way through. So we're really excited about a lot of those improvements that we're working directly with the PMSs on. And then on the back end, this is kind of how it works. You'll basically go in here and you'll connect your PMS here. And so in this demo site, it's connected to Owner Res. I can see which listings are in there. I can map them back and forth. And then all the properties here are being pulled. And I can see each one. I can star which one. And when I star it, it makes it a favorite on the homepage. We try to make it very easy. And then these are all the information that we pull directly from the PMS. So you don't have to go in there, copy and paste anything, add everything in there manually. All the pictures are added in there. I think the last probably notable thing that I want to quickly run through is just the editor. So this is the template editor there. It's very easy for you to use. When you start off, we build you out a complete website, and then you can go in there, replace the hero image in there. You can add a video hero image if you wanted to. You can add new sections. So if you wanted to talk about anything in particular, if you wanted to like talk about your co-hosting service, you can say co-host with us, and then add an image to it, and then link that to a separate page altogether. And then you can also create, for instance, like I just mentioned, the co-hosting page as well too. So you can build all this out directly in there. And the major difference between us and say a traditional like generic site editor like Squarespace or Wix or WordPress is that this is tightly integrated back into the PMS. And then you have full autonomy to build this out however you please.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, I do have a question going back to your prior comment about WordPress and its beginnings was based on a blog, right? I do know that a lot of people do like WordPress sites because of the fact that they're so search engine friendly, and you can share blog content quite easily.
Yep.
Do you ever envision someone with a WordPress front end connecting with a CraftedStays backend? Have you ever given any thought to that, and what would that look like?
Yeah, so we do have some folks that right now, so just to be very transparent, we don't have the ability to do a blog yet. That is on our Q1 roadmap of next year. So we're looking to introduce that. In the meantime, we've had folks host their blog on like blog and then their domain. So mine would be like blog.explorestaytoday.com, and have their blog hosted there, and then have their booking site hosted on the root domain there. So we do allow for that, but we try to also bake in a lot of SEO tools in the system itself. So if you're working with an SEO expert there, in the page, you actually can add in your meta name, the descriptions, the titles, and so on, so that when Google is crawling your site, they're able to pull all the information that perhaps your SEO expert is working with you on to be able to do that. We also try to make sure that the site is crawlable by Google. So we're actually backed by Google. Google invests into us. They pay for a lot of our infrastructure, a lot of our training as well too. So they've advised us on how to structure our pages so that it's optimized for their search engine. So we've done some things kind of behind the scenes on that.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. And the fact that, obviously you're so tightly integrated with Google, I think is a benefit to all of your users.
Yeah,
No doubt
yeah,
about it. No doubt
yeah.
about it. I'm curious from your perspective, obviously you shared when you were first building your direct booking website early on, it took you 4 weeks. And so that time investment is something that you wanted to shore up. What are some other challenges you see hosts facing when they're creating their direct booking websites? And how do you feel like CraftedStays helps to mitigate those challenges?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that I've seen, and it's what I faced in the very beginning, was that it was really costly for me to really get started in direct bookings. I didn't have $6,000 to spend in the early days when I had one or two properties to build our site. And at the same time, I felt like I was at this bind where 100% of my revenues were coming from one OTA, and that's a scary feeling because if for whatever reason a guest had a bad stay and we tried everything to remedy it, Airbnb could side with the guest and possibly even suspend me for anything that a guest may say. And for me, if I had my mortgages on that makes me feel really uncomfortable. So like what we try to do is like one of our mission is to try to lower the barrier to entry for folks to actually really do well in direct bookings. And we do that in a number of ways. Like one, we want to make sure that it's price conscious as well too. So our fees are not that expensive. It's $59 for up to 2 properties right now. We have a promotion going on with that. And then $8 for each additional property. So even if you're an operator with a couple properties there, you can really get started on it. But on the other side of it, we try to make sure that like we didn't gatekeep these features that will help you convert your site. We want to make sure that when you build a site, it looks really good, it performs really well, it loads really good on mobile, it converts folks. And we didn't feel like we wanted to really keep that away from smaller hosts. So we try to make it so that it's cost efficient, but also all those tools are baked in for everybody to be able to use.
Mhm. I love that. And to your point, I mean, I think when you're starting out in the world of short-term rentals, it can feel like you're bleeding money, when you're just buying property and furnishing it. And, not that newer hosts don't want direct booking sites, but for many of them, they're looking at it thinking, do I want to spend money
Yeah.
on this right now? And so I think having an affordable solution is something that's really, really important. And I love that you're bringing that to the table.
Yeah, I mean, we realize that like it's not like you're going to start building out your site, put it out there, and you're going to get 50% direct bookings right away. That's not a realistic goal there.
Mhm.
It does take time for you to nurture your leads in there, start collecting emails, to start figuring out how to market your property best. And oftentimes it will take you 2 or 3 years to get to that 40, 50, 60% direct booking rate.
Mhm.
And if you're if it's not cost efficient for you to do that, you might not do that until many years and your portfolio is much bigger. And then you're starting to build that first year kind of start of that. So we try to make it so that people can start as early as possible and start building their marketing engine early on and learning out what really works for them.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something you just mentioned about collecting email addresses. And of course, that is a foundational element to being able to run any sort of cart abandonment campaign. Can you talk with us a little bit about how CraftedStays helps owners and hosts collect email addresses from their potential bookers and how that functionality works within the site?
Yeah. So I think that when you're thinking about emails, there's really 2 effective ways to collect emails. You can collect emails from past guests, and those are a really effective way. So I'm a StayFi user myself. I collect probably a couple hundred emails at this point that we market to. The nice thing about these folks is that they've stayed with you. They already had a really good experience with you, hopefully. For us, we're like 497 on Airbnb. So we try to deliver a really good experience. And it's much easier to convert those folks. We call those middle of funnel folks. And then on our websites, you can also include any pop-ups, any widgets as well too. So you can include forms to be able to collect people's email addresses. I think I actually have one. Maybe I'm on this page here. Let me see if I can pull it up. You can collect emails on the page itself here. Yeah, so you can actually collect it. And in this case, this is actually a form for co-hosting services. But you can also say, you can have a pop that says, enter to win a free stay or a discounted stay, or enter to be on our list whenever we have special promotions. But that's a great way to get top of funnel emails. Those are people that have not stayed with you. They're thinking about staying with you. You can also do what they call like lead magnets, where you're providing, perhaps you have a landing page that you create on there where you say, these are the top things to do in the area. And if you want to, we can send you a copy to your email. And that's a great way for you to collect their emails. So there's many ways to collect emails on it. You can do it inline, but you can also do it as a pop-up there. But really to think about it is, one, collect emails from past guests that have stayed with you, and two, collect emails from any leads on your website.
Perfect. Perfect. And then again, just going back to that cart abandonment piece that I wanted to just ask, does CraftedStays natively have cart abandonment funnels going on, or is that something that's going to be added in? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's actually an exciting project that we're looking to add in probably the next few quarters there.
Okay.
So we're trying to make it so that you can connect into the major email service providers, ESPs, MailChimp, Klaviyo, maybe even Stacey as well too. And then for us to be able to send those contacts back to your email service provider, but also be able to send them events on certain things that happen on the page so that you can build out funnels to be able to market those. In the meantime, I don't think that we'll be building out our own email service provider and send emails on your behalf on our platform. I'd much rather partner with folks that do it much better than we can, and really provide the technology that's built deeply into your websites to really be able to do that.
Yeah. No, and I love that approach for any of my existing coaching students or podcast listeners. I should say often, not always, but I often talk about who, not how, and working within your zone of genius. And I love collaboration. I love partnering with others because it really allows you to deliver a best in class experience, but yet deliver the piece that is within your own wheelhouse, and then bring in additional resources on top of that.
Yeah.
So good. So good. I'm curious, for anyone who is on the newer side to direct bookings, are there any other key pointers or tricks of the trade, shall we say, that you think is important for folks to know as they're building out their first direct booking website?
I think so. We think about it as like, so we wrote a blog about this. We call it the direct booking quadrant there. One of the basic things that you really need to start off in, one of the quadrants that we talk about quite a bit, is really branding. And really branding starts off with knowing who your ideal guest avatar is. And I'm sure you talked about this a ton on your shows, but your ideal guest avatar is really at the center of everything you do. It's how you design your space, how you communicate with them through your messaging, how you build out your social, and also how you build out your website. So really, I would start there. And what that allows you to do is, when you're driving traffic back into your site, you're using language that resonates with them. And we've seen a lot of folks that started off on a PMS website and then migrated to us. And when they migrate to us, they have a much greater ability to tell that story, tell who they're really serving and why their place is the best for them. So if anything, I would really start with branding as like the first place, even before you decide to build your website and your copy there. Really think about who's staying at your place and what do you want to communicate.
For sure. I also think, even in your listing description, speaking directly to that ideal guest avatar is something that is often overlooked, number one. And then also, number two, it takes a little bit of courage to do that.
Yeah,
Because when you're speaking directly to your ideal guest avatar, it can feel as though, oh, but I'm eliminating so many other people who might want to come stay at my property. But you've probably heard the phrase, when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
being bold enough to really, really, um, you know, call out your ideal guest avatar and drive an emotional conversation with them through the words that you use to describe your listing, I think is something that um, could be crafted a little better for many hosts. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think like and then like outside of like really the branding side, the other four or three quadrants that we think about is like two is your conversion, which is your website. How do you get people to convert from looking to booking?
Hmm.
Three is channels. How do you want to reach folks? Because people are not just going to naturally come to your website. There's a lot of things that you can do to drive traffic, and you need to figure out what's the most effective channel for that. And then the last one is really funnels. How do
Hmm.
you think about someone going through the booking journey? Because oftentimes it may take multiple touch points for someone to be able to come and actually book with you. Um,
Hmm.
so, like small things you can do on the funnel side is do like retargeting. So you
Hmm.
can drop a Facebook pixel on the site itself, identify who's actually been to your site, and run small budget retargeting ads to bring them back in there. Because again, it will take them multiple touch points before they decide to book with you.
Totally. Totally. What are some of your favorite ways to expand reach and drive traffic to your
Yeah,
website?
it depends on what your property types are. And so for us, we also have a podcast as well too. And we each week we bring on another host that has done really well in direct bookings, and everybody has their own strategies there. For me, what's really worked really well is, since we're in vacation markets, we're in Gatlinburg and Branson, we have a lot of folks that will visit the same place year after
Mhm.
year. We're a very drivable destination there. And so what I found most effective is email marketing. So we do have StayFi in all of our properties, even our one bedroom properties, we have StayFi in there as well too.
Mhm.
And we collect emails. And then we send them through basically an email sequence. We nurture that guest for the next 12 months. And then the 9-month mark is where we offer them a discount to stay again. And so the first 9 months, we're just telling them about all the great things to do. Did they get a chance to see this? And our role there is really to be basically a authority expert there.
Mhm.
We want them to think about us the next time they're thinking about staying in that location there.
Yep.
It's not about to talk to them about like all of our good amenities and all our good services and check out our photos. It's not about that. It's really them to think about us when they're thinking about
Mm.
visiting Gatlinburg or wherever. And then hopefully we've built up enough equity with them that when at the 9-month mark, that's when they're starting to plan for their next trip. And that's where we drop
Mhm.
them the discount. So that's worked out really well for us. We do some retargeting ads as well too, but we don't spend a lot of time on ads. We also don't spend a lot of time on social as well too. We work with specific influencers that have a really good match back into our ideal guest avatar. So,
Gotcha.
for instance, our our focus is really young families. So folks that have kids that are 10 and under there.
Mhm.
And out of all the influencers that we've come across and reached out to us, we found only one really one influencer that really fitted our avatar.
Hmm.
And that's the Branson fam in Branson. And they create content that's really tailored towards young families about all the great things to do in Branson. And that's worked out really well for us. We've learned early on that if you bring folks and you give free stays out there, a lot of times you'll get a lot of traffic that I wouldn't convert. They're not
Right.
the same audience that you're going for.
Right.
So you really have to really understand how to work with influencers effectively, so you're not just giving away nights for free.
I'm curious, how did you find the influencer and how did you gauge, hey, this is the right influencer for us in our target market?
Oh, that's a good question. How did they come to us? I think we're in a lot of Facebook groups.
Mm.
So we see a lot of folks posting about, and we're in the Branson like tourist Facebook groups. We're also in the Smoky Mountains one, and we see the same people kind of posting in there. And so I think that's how we came across them. For us, we are our ideal guest avatar. My wife and I, we have 2 kids. They're young, 4 and 6. And so when we furnish the properties, when we think about the amenities, we're thinking about how do we want to stay in this place? How do we make it
Mhm.
most comfortable for us? And we just really resonated with the content that this specific influencer really provided there. It's when we were looking about all the things that we wanted to do when we visit friends and we looked at their content. So like, okay, this actually speaks
Right.
directly to
This
us.
is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then I'm curious if you don't mind me asking from a compensation standpoint, is it just an even trade where they stay and you get content? Is it just you know, uh, an even barter, or do you have to pay for your influencer, or how does that
Yeah.
engagement look without sharing too many details?
Yeah, well, I don't have anything to really hide there, but we didn't pay them, and we also pay for the cleaning fees as well too. So they got a completely
Okay.
comp stay. There was a huge alignment there, so like we didn't have to worry. And they ended up being just really good people. I had a chance to meet
Mhm.
them in person when I visited our lodge as well too, and I had a meal with them, and they're just such good people. And I offered them like, if you want to stay at our place again, you don't have to create any content. You're welcome to stay. And in January, February, it's dead in Branson. Like there's no one
Mhm.
staying there. And I was like, if you want a little staycation, you're welcome to use
Yeah,
our lodge. And in that case, I'll ask them to pay for cleaning. But like we just end up really creating a really good connection with them where I really want them, like I want them, yes, to promote us, but I appreciate our friendship that we've created as well too.
sure. No, I love that, and I think, you know, relationships, can be forged that can be win-win in business, but also just win-win in life. Like, there's nothing that replaces having good, strong relationships with people.
Yeah, I'm one to like not really keep tallies on things too much. And for me, I believe that if I serve others in meaningful ways, eventually it'll come back to me.
Amen.
It may not be tomorrow, it may not be for a while, but if you are a good citizen in life
Yeah.
and you really take care of the folks around you, folks will end up wanting to take care of you as well too.
Absolutely, and I often try to preach from the most positive way. When we're focused on paying it forward and helping other people without any expectation in return, I promise you your business will grow. It
Yeah,
absolutely will.
yeah, yeah. I
So I
totally
love
agree.
that. Anything else you would love to share with our viewers before we drop off?
Yeah, I think the kind of the last thing is just some of the things that we've seen from a traction standpoint.
Mhm.
We've seen everything from a host that signed on with us before they even launched on Airbnb, um, and they were really talking about their on their social media. They were talking about building out their stays, and you can see them rehabbing their place and sharing that they were slowly building up their following, and they ended up wanting to partner with us to help them build out their site. And when they launched, they had a 40% direct booking rate from the get-go. That was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and what that taught me is really they've done a good job at really resonating with their audience. They were able to connect with them so that when people stayed at their place, they saw the countertop that was being put in there. They saw all the amenities that she took all the time to really figure out.
Mhm.
So if you are building out a new place, if you're furnishing it for the first time, document that entire story in there because that's a
Mhm.
lot of good content that really could resonate with your audience. And then I think the last thing is a couple weeks back, we had someone that was using the PMS's website creators. Um, and they wanted to be able to tell a better story. They were in the Anaheim area. So you can, like, they're basically within 5 minute drive of Disneyland.
Mhm.
And they weren't able to tell their story, talk about their themed rooms, all the amenities that they had. And they moved over to us And 6 weeks after they moved over to us, he messaged me and he said, Gil, we have a 75% uptick in direct bookings since we moved over to you. And I was just blown away. And
Wow.
in 6 weeks, we didn't have enough time to really build SEO and the site authority there. So a lot
Mhm.
of that was really driving better conversions for their sites. So I was super ecstatic to really help hosts really amplify their reach in direct bookings. And like
Amazing.
it's
And
been an amazing year.
do you feel like it's because of the fact that it's so well performing on mobile? Is it due to the site infrastructure? Is it due to changes in how the listing is presented? What do you feel like is the impetus for that?
I think it's a little bit of everything. Like it's hard to say like this one big thing contributed to the massive success. It's like
Mhm.
all these little things that we consistently obsess over.
Mhm.
Us internally in CraftedStays that we obsess over that helps convert them. I think probably if there's anything from the host side that they did was really kind of going back to that branding, be able to tell a much better story within the site than they did
Mhm.
with their previous site.
Mm.
I think that would probably be like one thing that they were able to invest a bit heavier into.
Mhm. Love that. Love that. Gil, thank you so much for being with us. If you're watching this, we will drop a link to the Crafted Stays website into the show notes. I know that Gil and his team are going to be so excited to support you on your own direct booking journey. And thank you, Gil, for what you're doing in the industry.
I'm super excited to be doing what I'm doing, and I can't wait to see just how the company grows and how successful our host can be.
Love it.